Hunter Biden is indicted on federal firearm purchasing charges after plea deal fails. Washington, AP. Hunter Biden has been indicted on federal firearms charges. It's the latest step in a long-running investigation into the president's son that puts the case on track toward a possible high-stakes trial as the 2024 election looms. Biden is accused of lying about his drug use when he bought a firearm in October 2018, a period when he has acknowledged struggling with addiction to crack cocaine, according to the indictment filed in federal court in Delaware by a special counsel overseeing the case. The indictment comes weeks after the collapse of a plea deal that would have averted a criminal trial and weeks or months of distracting headlines for President Joe Biden. Americans sharply divided over whether Biden acted wrongly in son's businesses. AP-NORC poll shows Washington, AP. About half of Americans have little or no confidence that the Justice Department is handling its investigation into Hunter Biden in a fair and nonpartisan way. And 1 in 3 are highly concerned about whether President Joe Biden may have committed wrongdoing related to his son's business dealings. According to a poll by the Associate Press NORC Center for Public Affairs Research. But the political divide is stark. Some 66% of Republicans, and just 7% of Democrats, are very or extremely concerned about whether Joe Biden committed wrongdoing. The poll was conducted just before House Speaker Kevin McCarthy launched a formal impeachment inquiry this week working to link the president to the business dealings of his son. Flooding death toll soars to 11,300 in Libya's coastal city of Derna. Aid group says Derna, Libya, AP. The Libyan Red Crescent says that the death toll from floods in the eastern Libyan city of Derna has soared to 11,300. The Secretary-General of the aid group says a further 10,100 people are reported missing in the coastal city. Mediterranean storm Daniel caused deadly flooding in many eastern towns, but the worst hit was Derna. Residents said they heard loud explosions Sunday night when dams outside the city collapsed. Health authorities previously put the death toll in Derna at 5,500. The storm also killed about 170 people elsewhere in the country. Angry and frustrated, McCarthy challenges right-flank colleagues to try to oust him from his post. Washington, AP. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy is telling fellow Republicans threatening to oust him, "Go ahead and try." The embattled GOP leader essentially dared his hard right flank Thursday to quit holding the risk of a vote to remove him from the job. "If you're going to do it, McCarthy said, using a profanity for emphasis, according to those in the private meeting. A hard right element largely allied with former President Donald Trump is demanding big spending cuts and threatening to shut down the government if he is to keep his job. Even McCarthy's decision to launch an impeachment inquiry against President Joe Biden did little to appease the demands. Trump won't be tried with Powell and Chesbrough next month in the Georgia election case, a judge rules. Atlanta, AP. Donald Trump won't face trial next month in Georgia after a judge ruled Thursday that the former president and 16 others accused of illegally trying to overturn the results of the 2020 election will be tried separately from 2 lawyers in the case. Lawyers Sidney Powell and Kenneth Chesbrough had filed demands for a speedy trial, and Fulton County Superior Court Judge Scott McAfee set their trial to begin October 23. Trump and other defendants had asked to be tried separately, with some saying they couldn't be ready by the late October trial date. The judge is citing the tight timetable, among other issues, as a factor in his decision Thursday. How hard will Hurricane Lee hit New England? The cold North Atlantic may decide that New England is in the crosshairs of Hurricane Lee but is usually protected from the worst of a hurricane's wrath by the cold waters of the North Atlantic. That's expected to help reduce Lee to a tropical storm by the time it arrives this weekend. A number of factors determine the path and strength of a hurricane. But the warm waters that can strengthen a hurricane are typically south of Cape Cod. North of there, the Atlantic waters are much colder. That doesn't mean storms aren't dangerous in the region. The Great New England Hurricane of 1938 brought gusts over 180 miles per hour. Captured fugitive tells officials he planned to head to Canada or Puerto Rico. A murderer who escaped from a Pennsylvania jail and was captured 2 weeks later told authorities he'd been planning to carjack someone and flee to Canada or Puerto Rico. Deputy U.S. Marshal Robert Clark says 34-year-old Danilo Cavalcante told investigators he could sense law enforcement closing in and planned to get a car within 24 hours. Clark says Cavalcante revealed other details about his life on the run since his brazen escape from the Chester County Jail on August 31, including that he survived on creek water and watermelon. Cavalcante was taken to a state prison outside Philadelphia after his capture. Pig kidney works a record 2 months in donated body, raising hope for animal-human transplants. New York, AP. For a history making 2 months. A pig's kidney worked normally inside a brain-dead man. And while the dramatic experiment ended this week, it's raising hope for eventually testing pig kidneys in living patients. Surgeons at NYU Langone Health removed the pig kidney and returned the donated body to his family for cremation. The genetically modified kidney worked properly the first month before showing subtle signs that rejection was forming. But doctors say the kidney's function bounced back with simple medication changes. The lessons could help as regulators decide whether to allow clinical trials of pig organs. GOP-led Wisconsin Senate votes to fire nonpartisan official targeted by 2020 election skeptics. Madison, Wisconsin. AP. The Wisconsin Senate has voted to fire the state's top elections official as misinformation about the 2020 election influences election administration in the battleground state. Democrats say the vote on Thursday to oust the Nonpartisan Elections Commission administrator was held improperly, and the state's Democratic Attorney General has sued. The official has been the target of conspiracy theories and threats from election skeptics. GOP leaders cited concerns from those skeptics in justifying the vote along party lines. Biden defeated Trump by nearly 21,000 votes in Wisconsin in 2020. The outcome that withstood recounts and audits. With its election leadership in limbo, Wisconsin faces uncertainty ahead of the 2024 presidential race. NASA says more science and less stigma are needed to understand UFOs. Cape Canaveral, Florida. AP. NASA says the study of UFOs will require new scientific techniques, including advanced satellites as well as a shift in how unidentified flying objects are perceived. The space agency released findings Thursday after a year-long study into UFOs. An independent team commissioned by NASA cautions that the negative perception surrounding UFOs poses an obstacle to collecting data. But officials say NASA's involvement should help reduce the stigma. The panel says NASA can model how to best approach the study of UFOs through transparent reporting, rigorous analysis and public input.